So hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning to all. Welcome to Soccer Hub Talks. My name is Ricardo Balbeira. I'm the CEO and founder of Soccer Hub. As you know, Soccer Hub is an online education platform where you can find many online courses for soccer scouts, soccer analysts, soccer coaches. Well, just visit us so you can have a general idea about the kind of content that we offer. Before we start, I would like to generate some interactions with our audience. So I would ask please for you to click on the like button if everything is okay with the audio and the video. Please do it now if everything is okay with the media. Okay, thank you very much. Also, please introduce some information about yourselves on the chat box, such as the country that you are based in, and also the kind of a job that you have if you are a soccer scout, an analyst. Well, please introduce that information so we can adapt a bit more our conversation. As you know, this is a live webinar, a live interview, so you will be able to ask questions to our speakers. Just introduce the questions on the chat box that we will select some to introduce it to our speakers today. So during this webinar, we will be offering also a 25% discount in all the soccer scouting online courses on Soccer Hub. As we will be discussing soccer scouting, we will be offering 25% of discount in all soccer scouting online courses. So today we will be discussing soccer scouting, scouting soccer players in different continents. And for that, we have invited Norton Matos, former coach in clubs such as Benfica, Vitória de Guimarães, and the Indian national team, and many others. Is currently working as a coach and scout at the Royal Antwerp FC. Also, Nuno Félix, international scout, former international scout at FC Köln and Hannover 96. I would like to thank you all to accepting Soccer Hub's invitation, and we'll be joined soon. Hello, Nuno. Hello, Luís. Hello, Nuno Milheiro. Thank you guys for accepting our invitation. I'm going to leave you with Nuno to moderate the panel, Nuno Milheiro, and see you in about 1 hour. Okay? Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ricardo. Hello all, hello everyone, and thank you for being with us. Thank you to Luís and to Nuno for accepting our invitation, and it's always a pleasure to be talking to them and to talk about scouting. That is the main subject today. Today we have two great guests, like you see, with a large experience in scouting, but not only, soccer in general. Two references for all the scouts in this matter. That is the main subject in today's conversation. We have Norton Matos, that is a former soccer player, is a soccer coach, had experience as a sports director also, and where scouting was always present within those roles, despite the fact that he was not a scout exclusively, but being a soccer coach, his main activity, but definitely successful. And with a great work in all of those areas. I would like also to point, in my opinion, a very important fact that is a very respected person in Portugal, not only in the sports industry, but also outside of the sports, for his posture and also knowledge. And he has my admiration also for that. So thank you, Luís, for being here. We also have Nuno Félix, that is a very experienced scout with a great reputation, and is also in our platform with the course, like you guys know, and they have a great reputation in Germany, also of course Portugal, but not only, and where he spent most of his career doing scouting in Germany. So thank you again both for being with us. And I would like to start with Luís, if you don't mind, Nuno. So, Luís, thank you again for accepting, and also to point that also they accepted straight away the invitation. That's also an important point. Luís, you have an impressive CV as a player, as a sports director, as a soccer coach, large experience, different realities. do you remember when scouting came across to you more deeply and directly, and in what year and what club you were at the moment? If you can tell us, please.
Good afternoon, everybody, especially Nuno, Félix, and Nuno Milheiro. I'm glad to be here with you this afternoon. And to answer your question, when I start to coach, there are the habitude of scouting. The coach was the own scouting for his team, and I was obliged to look around the players when I play against the teams, and of course when I choose my players was my in my opinion the players that was better for my teams. The first time I contact with the reality of the scouting was when I worked as a sportive director in Sporting Lisbon, 95. And 95 is the starting, and I was sport director, but in fact I work almost my work was looking around the world, a lot of tournaments, and looking for the recruitment of the club, and give me a certain experience. And now I know that is very specific, and every good team have your department of recruitment with 1, 2, 3, 4, a lot of scoutings to choose the players and the analysis, because I consider the scouting, you can go in direction of take the players for your team in the recruitment, but also the scouting of an analysis of the teams, oppositor teams, and is very important for the preparation of the matches.
For sure. Thank you, Luis, for the answer. And so I'll say that you started in the beginning was you've been involved in the beginning of the scouting, let's say,
yes.
And you also been involved in the beginning of sports director, that at the time was not so popular. So we've been joining together and discovering a new world that today we are lucky that we have people like you exploring and passing the knowledge, and that's why we are here. So, Nuno, hello again. Thank you for being here. It's always a pleasure talking to you. So, Nuno, I'll ask you if you can tell us a bit more for the ones that don't know, because I think everybody within scouting already knows you, but we have people all over the world. If you can tell us a bit more about your path to become a scout, when it started, and a question: why Germany?
Hi all. First of all, let me say that it's an honor for me to share this panel with Norton Matos. As he already said it, he was a kind of a pioneer on Portugal in terms of professional scouting and sports directing the Sporting Lisbon, and afterwards also at Benfica. So maybe the two biggest clubs in Portugal, and near him I'm a junior, so I'm also here to learn something. Okay, Nuno, what I can tell you, Germany for me was almost an accident. So I got to know some people that were working at German football, first Bundesliga club, and as you may know, there is a kind of a big gap, and 20 years ago was much bigger than now, between the German football and Portuguese football, and I would say South European and South American football. So, like I told you, by accident, we started sharing knowledge, and I started working with people that recognize some of my observation skills and the quality of my assessment on players in this in these markets. So yeah, for sure, I had to learn a lot about also about Bundesliga, also about the German football culture, and it has been a big school for me because of course the rules for football are exactly the same all over the world, but the football culture, the way people think about football and the way football is played, it's different everywhere, and it's been kind of a big trouble for me to have the experience of watching matches almost all over the world. So it has been a big experience, and I hope to share some of my ideas with the audience today.
Perfect. Thank you, Nuno. So I'll say that it was a good accident, and I'm glad that happened. It's a case to say it, that because you share also, there is a lot of information that you share, and it's a good thing, and so it was a good accident, like I said. So Luis, coming back to you. So can you please tell us a bit more, just in general, the areas of the globe where you've been scouting mostly, and if you have any favorite place to do it and why? I believe that you travel all over the world because you've also been a player. You've been, many things, but yeah, in general, on the globe, the areas that you've been scouting more.
Okay, I start in Portugal, because I was obliged to choose players in Portugal when I start my coach career. But when I was in Sporting, I was lucky to travel in South American continent. I saw, I don't know, 6 or 7 tournaments, under 17, under 19, under 21, 23 was the Olympic qualifications. And in South America is very rich because we can have a tournament. There are always 10 teams and two different zones, the A, B, and you can watch in 10 days all the teams playing 4 times. This is very good because there are always Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, Colombia, Chile, Venezuela, Bolivia, Peru. All these teams have always very good players. It's a very interesting competition. But I travel also in Africa, and I spent 6 years of my life working in a private project in Senegal, with a project with players 14 years until 18 years old, to bring the players in Europe. And it was amazing to walk. Is completely different of the work in Sporting. It was working in alone. I was the only white people that was in the neighbors to watch the street football, because in Africa is a lot of street football. And I choose myself my team, and I come in tournaments in Europe. And for example, I was very, for me, it was a fantastic achievement to win tournaments in Italy or in England against teams like Juventus, like Milan, with the people that start to play football with me. And this is really very rich in experience. And also I saw 2 or 3 world competitions under 17, under 20, and all these travels and all these games give me I learn to watch players. I learn to be more rich, to analyze the players. Of course, all the people when analyze players make sometimes mistakes, because what I see, is my profile of player. When you bring the player for Europe, sometimes there are another context, different culture of the game, and sometimes the player is very well in South Africa is not the same player, the same rendement in Europe. But yes, it was for me it was a fantastic experience, and even now I always looking the football with my eye of scouting, but I know all the teams have more possibilities to analyze players and other sides of the players that's impossible only when you go without the data you have today. For me, I think is impossible the substitution of your eye when you watch a live game or a live training. For example, when I was once in Argentina, in Argentina there are the main match, for example, Boca Juniors against River Plate, 6 p.m. But at 4 p.m. there are the Team B plays before. And it's fantastic to watch these players because it's a quality incredible. And I saw a player there, and I want to bring in Sporting. And I say, I saw a player, but it's a reserve team. Well, but it's very, very good player. And this player was playing later in Inter Milano, is Diego Milito. He plays with 19 years old in the Team B of the Independiente or something like that. So, when you make the balance, I think it's very, very positive. All the experience I had in my life in the scouting and the recruitment.
No doubt. Thank you, Luis. And it's interesting, actually, you are telling that about Argentina, because when they play the second team, they play with the stadium completely full, and we know how crazy. Even if it's the second team, they already get used to that environment. And just one thing apart, I've been watching, I don't know, I recommend you also to watch, if you didn't watch, the Carlos Tevez serial. It's about his life. It's available. It's Netflix. Fantastic. Yes, fantastic. And you can see also the other part of the scouting, that is a social part of a player, what is very important sometimes in those countries, I believe. It's not only about the understanding the quality of the skills, because that's not so hard in those countries. There are loads. Nuno, the same to you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
For me, South American and Africa are, for me, two brilliant markets to watch players, because in Europe everything is too much money, and it's very difficult to find a good player in Germany, in France, in England, in Spain, in Portugal now. 14 years old or 15 years old, this is too expensive. And you can even now to find players in the South American continent and Africa, very, very good players, very cheap. But the people must know that usually you need a complement of his education when they come in Europe. It's very difficult an African player comes directly for a first league in Europe. But if he comes in 18 years old, and you are prepared to give the culture of the country, give the food, alimentation is very important, and the rhythm and the notion of tactical, all these aspects, after they have the potential, they have the talent, and you can have very, very good players, very cheap.
Thank you, Luis. But I'll just by another thing. I agree completely with you, but also to say that, Luis, if I'm not wrong, you also found a very, very interesting players for when you've been at Vitória Guimarães in France, in the lower divisions. So you also make discovering where it's impossible. And
but is the other side. It's the other side.
Yes, I know.
In Europe, in my opinion, because I work a lot in Paris, a lot of weekends watching games in the morning, 18 years old, 17 years old, and sometimes there are 4 or 5 people watching the games. And it's amazing the quality you have in the region of Paris. And almost 80% of the players goes in the national team of France. It comes from this region. For me, is the most if I need to find players in Europe, is in the divisions, in the 2nd, 3rd division, 4th division in France, and then the young players when they have 14, 15 years old, you can find fantastic players with the mentality, European mentality. Is very important, this kind of aspect, because they are prepared very quickly to adapt to Portugal or Spain or England or Germany anyway.
Of course. I just wanted to leave this note because I think you also did a fantastic work also there, finding those players also in Europe where they are expensive, but you found cheap players and you made them like become expensive.
You know, for example, the story of Desmarais.
That's the one exactly I was talking about.
But Desmarais comes very late because he's the kind of player nobody watch. 26 years old, plays in 6th division in France, in Paris, and when I come with the player in Guimarães, the president said, "But he's 6th division, yes, but he's a lot of talent, and it's not only the talent, the decisions he have to play is fantastic. They know everything is natural, and he plays 2 years in Guimarães." And the Guimarães sold the player at 20 years old or 29 years old to Coruña. So is really, really, but there are other players like that. But the teams, the main teams in Europe don't look for players in the 3rd or 4th division because they want a rendement, more fast rendement when they pay the players.
Exactly. So you were reading my mind because I was actually thinking that example of Desmarais, but not only, but others. Just a quick, we have a question here from Mario Spanic. Hello, Mario. Usually Mario is with us every week. It's just a question to Luis about the Indian players, Indian football. Mario, we'll talk about this later on. Please stay with us, because I will have that question also to Luis. So coming back to Nuno. Also, we share a lot of ideas and you are always open for that. I know you all also have a lot of experience in South America, for example. And but we've been talking about Europe, and you also have a lot of experience in Scandinavia. Am I right? So it's a market. It's also with completely different characteristics. In principle, the players are expensive. More expensive than South America. It depends, of course. Everything depends, but is also there are also interesting markets. So please tell us a bit also in general the parts of the globe that you've been scouting most. Possibly those ones, and the favorite, and also go a bit for the Scandinavian also market for people to understand the characteristics of that market in specific. Thank you.
First of all, I have to say that I mostly worked for the first team, and so I don't know if many of those who are listening to us they have that idea, but German football, I was working mainly with German clubs, and German football is quite protective of their own kids, of their own formation and academies, and so they don't get as much interested on scouting youth foreigners from other countries, mainly if the kids don't have a kind of a connection with Germany, that if they don't have family, if they don't speak German, most of the German clubs they prefer to take the most of their own internal market in terms of youth, and so my scouting was mainly for the first team, and I was looking for already almost 100% prepared players to play Bundesliga, or players that could have an impact on the team in a very short term, and many times it was not a case of trying to discover some hidden talent player somewhere, but to minimize the risk of signing a player. So for that, I would have to have a very good idea of the way the team played, the demands of German football, what the coach wanted for the first team and for that position, and then I would have also to have a very good judgment on the player's character, on the that's the big issue on scouting, the adaptability of a player when you bring a player from one country to the other. So for Germans, mainly Scandinavia, was kind of a secure market to scout, because as you can imagine, if we have that idea of Germans to be very serious, very ethical, very hardworking, if you go to Scandinavia, it's there plus something, you know. So in that way, it was kind of a secure market for you to search for players, because you knew that they had the right mentality to go and to fight for a place in your team if they were recruited to play in Bundesliga. And for you to have an idea, and I would have to give this case, I think it's the most extreme case of that. If you look at Iceland, if you look at Iceland, they are so few, and they have a league that at the first sight it's not that competitive. They have to play on artificial pitches all over the world, all over the year. Yeah. They only compete during a certain time of the year, and of course it's kind of difficult for you to find very, very, very skillful players there. But at the same time, you see the results of the national team, and every time if I went to Iceland, every time I would pick 3-4 players, quite young, but already very, very, very competitive. Okay, so in certain positions, I knew that I would go there and find something, and at the same time, you would have a very. It was kind of very interesting to see. Also, lots of players that have a background in Africa or a background in South America, and they go very, very young directly to Scandinavia. Most of them, they go there because they went to a summer tournament when they were 15 years old, 14 years old, and then the clubs with some social institution, they give scholarships to those kids, and they don't go back to Africa anymore. So they already stay there, and then they make their final degrees of the academy under 17s, under 19s at the country like Norway. And when they reach the first league in Norway, they already have the mindset to play European football, and at the same time, they have the good thing about African football or South American football. They have the touch with the ball. They have the creativity. So for maybe it's kind of difficult for you to find the top talented players there, but you can find a very good range of very competitive players. And also a very interesting thing that you could see in Scandinavian football is that the player, when he is very good, they are not afraid of putting a 16 years old player or a 17 year old player to play first division, and even with their own kids, don't need to be African or something. Even with their own kids, and you had a very well known case with Martin Odegaard that went to Real Madrid for I guess at the time 10 million, and he was 16 years old. And of course, you also had another situation that I guess 2-3 years ago with Isaacson that went to Borussia Dortmund and from Sweden. So they if they see a player that has extra quality on their later formation stages, they just try it playing the big league. And that's very interesting to see how kids that already already are good players but still have a lot to develop, to play a very challenging game in terms of physical contact, in terms of running for 90 minutes, and that's something that is very interesting for you to scout when you go there.
No doubt. Thank you, Nuno. And also, of course, the background, and also we talked about it, the education, and also the system and the country, how it works. Like the social part of the country, and also helps when they adapt to countries like that. It's everything. It's not only one thing. That's why scouting is so interesting. There are so many aspects that make the difference. Luis, one curiosity that I have: when you are scouting a player, do you take into consideration your experience also? You look at a player and you put yourself in the skin as a sports director, as a coach, and as a scout, or you purely look as a scout, if it makes sense, because you have all the experience,
It is an interesting question. I put myself always as a coach because my eye is a coach, and if I have a team to coach, it's very easy for me because I think the connect exists between the player I see and the way I play. I know exactly what I want, and when I build my teams, I choose my players. Now it's more difficult because a lot of clubs is the committee of the club that choose the players. But for me, all the teams I made myself, as Setúbal, for example, a team was Guimarães. All the players come, nobody knows them, and I have not success 100% in all the players, but almost players give me the satisfaction for the season. Sometimes when I watch a player, because I think it's universal, some kind of aspects for the observation. For example, for me, the most important is the talent. The talent is for me the most important. And when I watch a player first time, the capacity to take decisions, the personality with the ball, and of course, it's like I cannot write in the paper what is the points that I like. I think I like something that I cannot explain is good. For me, it's good. And sometimes I watch a player once or twice. I don't need mounts and mounts watching the same player. Of course, you have perhaps a margin of mistake more, but the quality in the warm-up, for example, I watch players in warm-up and I feel this is the player. And after the game, can or not confirm this opinion I have. But this is my way to watch the players. The Nuno talk about Scandinavia. I have a very good example, for a Scandinavian player. When I was in Benfica B, the president comes with a player. It's not my choice, and he says, "Luis, if he's not good, no problem." And he's a junior player, and the team of Benfica don't want this player in the juniors because he says the relationship with this player with the ball is not like the Portuguese. But I say to myself, I like a player with this mentality, with this character, with this the skills they have, and I say to the president, I stay with the player and say, you're going to sell this player for the English market because Scandinavian players almost go usually in North Europe, in England. And the player plays in different positions, and now he plays in Manchester United. Is Victor Lindelof. And Benfica don't want him. The people of Benfica, the scouts don't want this player because he's not a traditional Benfica, he's not former in Benfica, and the qualities they look, the technical qualities is different. You cannot compare the quality of João Cancelo, for example, with Lindelof. And okay, but the relationship for me, I don't care. I want the potential, and this is my way to watch. Everybody have different ways, and everybody have fantastic players they discovered. I don't want to say that I'm the best or the worst. I have my own idea about a player. So,
Luis, let me just share one thing with you. I remember watching Lindelof.
Yes.
I guess with the before he came to Benfica. 17 or 18 years old, and he was playing as right midfielder.
Yes, right midfielder. Yes.
Right midfielder. And so imagine now he's centre. But I remember that when you watch lots of that, you lose track of most of the players. But I remember quite well the idea that I got from Lindelof on that match, because I was thinking to myself, this guy doesn't belong on this position, okay?
Yeah.
Because there's something that we can share some ideas, but
yes,
when I watch a player, I always get the idea doesn't really, I don't really care what the position is playing, okay? But if he is a defensive player or an offensive player, if he is like focused on attacking the opposite goal, or if he's kind of more focused on defensive action, okay? So when I remember to see Lindelof, and it was kind of a strange body on the team, because he was doing things in a very different way from what I thought should be doing in that position. But at the same time, he was, for his age, he was above the average of the rest of the team. So I remember that match from Lindelof, and I remember it to be not a player that I really liked, but it was one of the players that I highlighted on my report to keep on watching. Okay. So
are you surprised he reached a team like Manchester United?
Yeah.
But this is
I always thought he wasn't. Even when he came to Benfica, I had my doubts that he would have reached the first team of Benfica, and so I have to be completely honest with you. I never thought he would be the player he became. But
you know why?
that's
Because Lindelof have a fantastic thing. He's very focused. He's very humble, and he want always learn. And I say a lot of people, I would like to have many players like him in my team because he's an example of work. He's an example of work. And I remember I said to the president, you can't sell this player for the English market one day. I was surprised he goes directly to Manchester United.
Yeah.
But it's funny in this kind of observation. You imagine where the player can go. It's like Cancelo. Cancelo at the time when I say one in a meeting, for me was the best right back in Europe with his age, because he plays with me in second league, professional league, with 17 years old. I say the people, oh no, it's impossible because he's crazy. But why is crazy? You need to education the players. You need to education for the tactical, the physical, and sometimes we lose players because you are very, very fast, very, very quickly. We want to answers like an adult when you work with young players. And Cancelo is in Manchester. Benfica have a lot of players, young players. At the time, was difficult. They believe in this place. Even the coach Jesus, he don't believe that, because it's true, they have fantastic players and more experience, but you need to watch 4 years, 3 years later, because they are 17 years old. Huh? 17 years old is very complicated.
And if you allow me, that's very interesting aspects, and thank you for that. And that's why this is a conversation, not an interview. And you both touched in very important points. Nuno said that he watched Lindelof as a right midfielder. And Luis talked now about the player that is João Cancelo, right back in principle. We have a question here from Deborah Scholes. Hi, Deborah. I know also we watch regularly and always asking questions. And this question is related. I was waiting to make this question because we will touch this point. She's asking, when scouting for professional leagues, are you scouting for individual positions or players who can adapt to any position? I think this answer is perfect. The answer they already gave them. So Lindelof was a right back, a right midfielder, and said that he looks for a position where he can adapt. And João Cancelo can play on the right back, left back, right winger, left winger. But if you guys want just quickly to answer, because I believe that we already answered. So do you look for an individual position? It depends also if the club needs or not just one position.
But the polyvalence of the players is logical. For example, a central defender can play as midfielder defender or vice versa. A midfielder, a 6, can play if there are red cards, if there are tactical movements, he can play as a central defender. Usually, a winger can be the right back or left back, the winger left. So there are a compensation. And, there are today in football, almost players must play in different positions, because you have 2 moments very important. You have the ball or not the ball. When you lose the ball, all the teams defend, all the team defends in 4-1-4-1 or 4-5-1, but everybody defends of the same way. And when you have the ball, you must play offensive. And if you look all the teams, the most dangerous players sometimes in offensive actions are the right back or left back.
Yeah.
So
these days.
So all the players must be at this mentality. It's finished. A player plays on only one position.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, Luis, I don't know
Lewandowski, a 9 like Lewandowski.
Yeah.
Yes, a player like Messi play where we want, Ronaldo, but almost players are this kind of polyvalence, collective polyvalence.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know, Luis, if you had a chance. We had we had a few weeks like a subject that we talked about. It was the tactical intelligence of a player.
Yeah.
The guest was Kostas Katsouranis that played for Benfica, and we talked about that because I invited him because he could play as a number 6, he could play as a center back, he could play as a number 8.
Exactly.
He could play like if it was needed, he knew how to play as a right back or left back if it was an emergency, you know. And he even confessed us that he started a career as a striker. So that's that's a good example. I think you agree, Nuno, also. Let's move on. Do you agree, Nuno, with these things, or do you want to add?
Let me add one thing. For me, I totally agree with Luis when he says that the thing that we always look at the player is his talent. So he has to have a relation with the ball that is good enough to be at to reach a very good level. But the thing that I really like to see in a player is an intelligent player. So the player that makes good decisions, that you can think that is predicting what the others are doing, that can anticipate the situation, and a player, if he's intelligent and then if he has the right mentality, is hardworking. I already seen everything, because you can see small guys playing center back. You can see guys that are not that fast playing on the wings. So when a player is very intelligent and is skillful and is hardworking, it's almost as if they could play everywhere. Of course, they have places where they play better than in other positions, but a very intelligent player, very that is good with the ball and is very hardworking and wants to evolve, he can be a polyvalent player.
Thank you, Nuno. So let's keep with Nuno, because we have here a question from Pedro Paiva. Hello, Pedro. Thank you for your question. So just one thing. What is the first observations you do when you're scouting the player? Question for you, Nuno. So I believe you already answered, but the first thing that for you that
I can tell you that when you are scouting, usually you are not scouting for a particular player. Okay, you are seeing a match, you are seeing all the players. Okay, and for me, I also like a lot to watch warm up. So and I like to watch the moment, the sequence of the moment. So after the player is doing one action, what he does next after his action, he was on the spotlight. So if it goes well, if it goes bad, what is his reaction? What he does after? Does he look disconnected? Does he look like he wants to do something more? That is very important. And one thing is, like, for me, the first 15 minutes of a match are very, very important. To see the first actions, to see how the player comes into the game, the first touches, everything. Those first 15 minutes, they give you so much information that, for instance, I almost don't take notes on the first minute. I just want to have a clear idea of what I'm seeing. Okay, so the guys, of course, everybody has his own way of working, but the guys that are like looking at the paper on the first minutes of a match and trying to write everything, it's like, look, you are missing so many things, and of course, I always give lots of importance to things that I think they are different. Okay, so when you see hundreds and hundreds of matches every year, you get very sensitive to different things, either good, either bad, and you should not kind of under evaluate the importance of something that goes out of the pattern. Okay, something that goes out of the normality on that situation for a player. So either good, either bad. You have to take note of that, and you have to try to explain it. And the rest of the actions of the player during the match will explain that thing that caught your attention. Okay.
Thank you, Nuno. Let's back to Luis. Luis, let's change a bit the subject here. Let's go to your experience not completely, not a subject, but the geographical area. Let's do a quick travel to India. Yeah, to Asia. So you've been coaching in India. Can you please share with us a bit about the work that you've been doing in the country, and with a country that with a massive population density, as we know, and is it, in your opinion, a good market to scout, to explore, and why it doesn't produce high-level players? If you can explain all this in a brief way, like as much as you can, like yeah.
For me, it was a challenge, incredible challenge, to have the possibility go in a country that is not a country of football. There are no reputation in football. The most important sport is cricket. Yeah. So when you arrive, everybody talk about cricket, and was amazing to have the possibility to, as a coach, to live the ambience of playing World Cup under 17. So when I arrived, the team has 1.5 years working with a German coach. And when I saw the team, for me, it was not enough. I say it's impossible in India. You need to look other players. There are a Portuguese. There are always a Portuguese in somewhere in the world. And he told me that, coach, there are teams very good and better players than you have. And I believe. And in India, there are money enough to bring the players playing friendly games. And to give an idea, after 1.5 years, 20 players in the process of national team, always in hotel, always concentrated to the trainings and the tournaments. I took 8 or 9 players, and 6 of them starts the first match of the World Cup competition and are the best players of this generation, or one of the best. And the first thing, and this is interesting because Nuno talked about that, the conception of training of a Portuguese and a German is different. And in India, they play a lot of physical game when I arrive, and direct with 4-4-2, direct balls, and we change. And I think that the Spanish makes good in the coach. The Spanish coach makes a good work in India because it's like us, more ball, because the Indian player is small, usually small. There are some exceptions, but it's not a football. English football is not kick and run and many duels. No, they play very well. They are very fast, very fast. The players, all the players in India are very fast, very intensive, and so it was 6 months to prepare an impossible mission for the competition World Cup, because in our group was Ghana, is one of the best teams under 17 in the world. It was United States that progressed a lot in the last years, and the other team was Colombia. And Colombia, 3 or 4 players played in first league in Colombia. So mission impossible. And they said, "Oh, coach, we're gonna win games." He said, "We've made a point. It's a miracle." And the most important, and this is very important also to think about it. I say the most important is this is the zero level to start a new process of football in India. And we play 3 matches with 50,000 people. 50,000 people. It was completely foolish. And I propose a plan of 10 years for the Indian football, not to leader 10 years, but perhaps 2-3 years. Because it's the best generation in Indian football is this team. And we beat, for example, Argentina friendly game, because friendly game is different of official game. But there are some signs that the team progress a lot. And, the people don't know. And India have a lot of money to build an academy, to work, because it's always hotels, always fields that no conditions. And, we prepare a World Cup with warm weather, and they want to make some friendly games in Australia. In the time was 0 degrees. So, this kind of details is very important when you prepare a World Cup competition. But the experience was amazing. And they start one idea that I had, and I defend my idea with the committee, is after World Cup, this team must play the qualification in Asia under 19, because it's always to lose, but we win experience. And we play in Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia wins after the Asia competition, and we lose against Arabia, and we make 4 points. 3 points against Turkmenistan and 1 point against Yemen. 2 years later, I was not there. They come to play under 19 against non-under 19 with this base, 0 points and 0 goals. So the process was very, very, very interesting for the development of the Indian football. And they play the senior competition of I-League. I-League is the main competition if you accept the ISL, the Super League, that is a private competition, and this comes players like Berbatov. But this is the special, because the I-League is the professional league in India, and they can have 6 foreign players. And we play, and I say perhaps we are in the bottom, but in the end of the year, this team have some competitions. We can think in Olympic Games in 4 years. And, there are no passions. We lose, we win, we lose. We made 10 times. We have the best man of the match. We have the best goals, collective goals because there are a lot of stats in India. And I think now I saw the players. They are all the players in ISL, in Super League, but they don't play. So I think his work didn't result because they come a lot again in the same process. But was a fantastic experience, and I'm very, very happy to have the possibility to live there. The profile of Indian player is very good if a team, for example, in Europe, take some players of this new generation, 18 years old, because before it's impossible, and not only a commercial action, but if you have a player playing in Europe, and there are no Indian players in Europe from India, there are from origin in England, there are a lot of them. But if you have some players, 2-3 players coming in Europe playing, later is a very good business. And for me, the Indian player is more have more capacity than the Chinese player. Is the 2 countries, the biggest countries in the world in population, but there are more talent than in India than in China.
Thank you, Luis. So I believe that only what they need is more stability and consistency on the level of organization. Yeah, that's the only thing they need to become like have a better potential. Like you said, you made a plan there, and they just need to follow some plan for 10 years, for example, and not just constantly changing and going back to the past. That's maybe the reason, no?
But even in the national team, the main national team, the only concern is where are the India in the ranking FIFA?
Yeah.
And, for example, is 101 or 2, but what they do, 10 matches, only victories, and they come in 80, for example. They are for them is a victory, but he plays against which teams? Macau,
Yeah.
Seychelles, the worst teams in the world. So it's not good for the progress. I prefer play against Germany and lose 4-0, but I learn. Then win 4-0 against this is the mentality that we can must have in the football.
For sure. Thank you, Luis. Nuno, for you, a challenge. So, which market, if you could choose one market that you believe that is a market still to be explored in a certain way, because in these days, it's quite easy to. What's the market of the future that and that you will like to be scouting over there? If you can reveal. Maybe you have some secret in there and you don't want to tell us, but no, I'm joking.
Quite hard to pick one market, one specific market. Okay, Luis, he speak about, for instance, I'm quite impressed about the North American market and the evolution of the soccer in North America. So I believe that the United States will produce more and more very, very talented players with the wonderful skills and wonderful working ethic and quite athletic players. So they are producing more and more good players, and that's something that maybe 10, 20 years ago nobody thought about it. So my passion, it's South America. I think that's all. So it's like the most talented players I ever watched playing football were almost all came from South America, and if you see under 15s at South America, of course Brazil, but also Argentina, also Uruguay, also Colombia. If you see their tournaments or competitions with kids, you will always have the opportunity to look at players that, with the right education and the right mentality, they could be something very, very different. So I still think that it's possible to find very talented players on those markets, although it's getting more and more difficult to get that there first than as everybody else. Okay, so and that also makes them more expensive, and also, although it's maybe where I'm less experienced, but also the African players. The African players are something else. And I, from my experience, when I started, it was kind of more easy to find different players. Okay, players that would make things in a different way. And nowadays, with the academies and with the kids not playing at the street, mainly in the most developed countries, in the more developed countries, players they play everywhere the same, or more or less the same. So when you want, if you want to search for something different, I think Africa it's still kind of a place where you can find something that can be a true diamond. So
Depends. It depends.
I'm not giving any secrets to anybody. So for people that know football all over the world, it's more or less this, and you can see that the in South America it's skills, and also more and more physical players as well. But in Africa, it's the difference. It's some eccentric thing about football that makes you passionate to find that in the kid. Something, if a kid does something that you never thought, you never seen before, it's something.
It's more pure. It's different. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Nuno. Great. I think you even answered to. We had a question from Deborah earlier on about if you ever go to US to scout, and you also said about the US market. I wasn't thinking we were talking about specifically US market, because I think that only Africa and South America, we could do a webinar only for Africa and one only for South America, because there are so many things how to scout in those places. Let's keep this idea open for one day, because I think that will be great, and because it's very different to scout in there. So we are almost finishing. Okay, so getting back to Luis, the last question is before, if you can leave some advices, you both, because I believe everybody is waiting for some advices. So for you, what's the biggest challenge in scouting, and also your biggest satisfaction and the biggest frustrations when inside the scouting for you?
The big challenge in scouting is always to find the best players. Everybody wants to discover another Ronaldo or another Messi, and this I think is the someone that believe, as Barcelona, for example, believe in a player too small that comes to Barcelona to take some pickers injections to grow up. I think is fabulous, because I know the person that discovery, Carlos Reixas, old player of Barcelona, and I was with him in sometimes in Argentina, and he told me all the story, and it's fantastic. So Luis is a talent, incredible talent, but it was too small, a little bit like Bernardo Silva in Benfica when he started, and. I think this is the challenge, because if you ask to anyone in the world what is the best player in the world, or is a good player in the world, everybody says Messi, Ronaldo, are always the two players. The biggest challenge is to find the unknown player and someone and say this is the one. I think this is a very, very good challenge for me. When I'm working as a coach, the challenge is to find the players that give me the possibility to win, and give me the possibility to work with them and progress. And for me, the football is a profitable. The clubs must be profitable with the players, and sell the players and develop the players. So if I can reach this kind of things, for me was the challenge. The frustration. The frustration is for someone looking the players is to be wrong, not because the player is not a good player, but to be wrong because the player is in wrong context. And someone comes, for example, you watch a fantastic player in a context in Africa or South America, and when he comes, he's shy. The African players are very shy, and sometimes the people think that kind of shy, that like submiss. No, it's a kind of education, and you need to have know the mentality. And the player perhaps is very good, but he's not the same player. Here with better conditions, he's not the same player. It's a frustration, because that this player is good, but you cannot prove because he cannot play like he plays in Africa or in Asia or somewhere there. For me, this is the frustration. I cannot convince someone. Wait, Louis, the statist, he don't score goals. He's not decisive, and he's a normal player. And this for me is frustration. But when I coach these kind of players that I know and I really know, because the affect the way the love you need to put in your action with a player is very important for his rendement. The mental is very important, and everything is mental, and you cannot compare the way they grow up in Africa or in some South American neighbors and with the European player, because it's completely different. And when you give an orange in Africa a player, for him it's like it's gold, an orange, a simple orange. And you have sometimes in the European clubs have fruits after the training, and they joke with the orange or with the bread. And if you know all these things, you can be better human, and you can have more rendement from the players.
That's amazing. That's amazing, everybody. Guys, this will be available later on also. Please at least go and listen this again and again and again and again, because I believe that's a massive lesson for all of us. And just to finish with you, Luis, and also satisfaction, of course, you already spoke in the beginning. It must be great when you bring like a team from Africa and you beat Juventus in Europe. It must be, a very good satisfaction for you not to have the conditions that they have over here, and just bring players that you see them growing, you teach them, and then they come in here, and that must be amazing. Nuno, and for you,
one thing, I have time or not?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you have time.
I have a player. He plays now in Calcio in Bologna.
Okay.
He calls Ibrahim Mabai.
Yeah.
I bring this player for Inter Milano when he was 17, because he was lucky because his father worked legal in Italy since 10 years, and he can come and he plays in Inter. And after he moves for 2 different clubs, and now he plays in Bologna. And when I meet this player, he plays without shoes in Dakar, and his family is very poor. And all, the satisfaction you have to be involved directly with this player. I was the passport for him in Europe. And now he bought a home to his mother, to his sister, to his father. Is really something that the money don't pay this kind of sensation. And they have a lot others. And beat Juventus or beat... we win the Milk Cup. Milk Cup is one of the best tournaments in North Ireland for under 17. It's the first team from Africa winning the tournament. And this is, is not very, very new in the notices, but, for me, is a gold medal. It's a gold medal. The sensation is unbelievable. And it's the reason I like work with Africans and some kind of difficult countries, because you have also the satisfaction to watch his eyes, and the eyes never lies.
Thank you, and I believe that's why also you are like that.
And one question for Nuno. Nuno,
okay.
Did you have been in the stadium of La Bombonera, Boca Juniors?
Yes.
For me, it's the best ambience in all the world.
Yeah, it's
is La Bombonera and Liverpool. The two must, not Maracanã. These 2 stadiums.
Yeah, and the new one, it lost spirit.
Yeah. You never walk alone.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Luis. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere.
Stay.
Yeah, okay.
I enjoy a lot.
Thank you. That's very good to know. And Nuno, and for you the same. The biggest challenge is in scouting, also the biggest satisfaction and the biggest frustrations, obviously.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge, and I'm kind of already thinking about the future, is that football is getting more and more demanding at the highest level, and it's getting more and more scientific. And for scouting, to kind of, I think the biggest challenge is to bring together the stats, the analytics, all the new technologies that are now coming to evaluate the performance of the players, and also even trying to predict how the players will develop. And at the same time, the biggest challenge is to kind of use that data and not forget about the passion, not forget about the what you think, what you see, what you feel when you are watching a player. And because sometimes, and every scout I know, we can say those moments, speak about those moments when we fall in love with a player. Okay, for me it's not that easy. I think it's like the when I started working for one German club, Hannover 96. My scout director, I knew that previously they had a scout in Spain and in Portugal, and but I didn't knew that. And then I discovered that afterwards, and I said, "Why did you sign me and replace the other guy for me?" And he told me, "Nuno, you only fall in love 3-4 times a year for a player." The other guy was always in love with with 40 players per weekend. But those moments are quite impressive, and but to be able to then to defend your player when you are a scouting meeting and you have to defend the signing of a player. To be able to do it and also use the scientific part, and to be able to do those two things, I think it's the biggest challenge for the scouting in the future. My biggest the happiest moments that I had in scouting were similar to what Luis described. Of course, I never worked like going to deep Africa and bringing a kid to Europe, but I had my share of importance in some decisions that really made a difference for some players that were playing in a very low level. And then I remember a player that when he knew that we were trying to sign him, and I had the opportunity to speak with him. He was kind of shy, not speaking about money, not speaking about conditions, not asking for anything. And I told him, because at the time I was not only a scout, I was also the representative. At the time I had I was the representative of the club for that operation. And at the time, I told him, but you still haven't made the question that is quite important. How much will you earn? How much do you want? I asked him that, and he was kind of shy, not answering. And then he told me a number. He told me a figure, okay? And the figure was maybe 3-4 times what he was already earning. Okay, so it would be quite good for him if he was earning 3-4 times. But then I told him, look, if we would pay you that, you would receive less than half the money of under 19 player of our academy, something like that. So when I told him what was the minimum wage that was expecting him, he started crying, like crying, really, and he hugged me, and that's quite interesting, because then he became a quite interesting player also. The biggest frustration for me with scouting is when people say they believe in scouting, but they truly don't. Okay, so when scouting is used to kind of cover everything else. Okay, so either you do things on your way, like I am the president and I decide everything. I'm the one that chooses or either you really trust your scouting department, you really trust your scout, and then you give them all the tools and for them to make good calls. Okay, so that's and if you have someone from clubs watching us, like now scouting is a kind of a fancy thing. It's kind of fashionable. It's everybody speaks about scouting. Before, nobody cared about scouting. Now everybody speaks about scouting. But it's better if you say that you don't scout, than if you don't give the right importance to your scout. And for me, scouting is as a serious work as it is training, as it is playing, with the medical staff. The scouts have many times a very difficult life, traveling a lot, many times alone, sometimes even taking some risk in some regions of the world. So take them for serious and make their work worth it.
That's a great answer, and you touched a very, very important point. So, guys, we have to finish. Just to tell you that my big satisfaction is to be talking here with you guys, and my big frustration is I never been in La Bombonera, but I've been at Anfield, and it's fantastic. But my wish is to be at La Bombonera, and if possible, a Boca River will be great. So just to finish, to say thank you very much to both of you, and I think you already gave all the advices to the ones that want to be a scout. But if you want to give one specific one, just to finish, Luis, any specific advice to people that want to become a scout?
I think Nuno gave the answer. Passion. You need to have passion what you do, not to follow only the money or the easy life, because it's not an easy life, but the passion. And for me, is the number one.
Thank you very much, Luis. And what about you, Nuno?
Yeah, for sure, passion, and also to keep your ears quite open, and try to always to learn with the guys that are here for longer time than you, and have more experience than you. That was mainly my school, and as Nuno told, I always like to also try to teach what I know, but I'm always trying to get something new from more experienced people like Luis.
Thank you both. I'm a privilege to learn with both of you, and thank you very much for being here with us. And I hope you enjoyed. And see you next time.
Okay. Thank you, Nuno. Thank you, Nuno.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye, guys.
Thank you very much.